please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chris, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Yoshimura?
Here.
Ms. Bradley?
Here.
Mr. Gilbert?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the motion, move into executive session as listed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second. Are there any questions? Okay.
The board will approve a motion, and the reason we're moving into executive session, just so everyone knows, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Yes.
Did you guys need to vote? Joe?
Oh.
Motion passed 5-0. To return from executive session? I did, but I messed you up, I know. See, when I go back, it doesn't go back. Uh-oh. Okay, is that good? I need a motion. No, we don't. We don't, okay. Okay. Do we have any reports from employee organizations, certificated or licensed? Any reports from classified? Any reports from school-related organizations? I've received a request for 2 community comments. The first one is Bonita, and it's regarding Dr. Turney. And just to remind you, we're going to try to stay within the...
With the 3 minutes, I know. I'm not a personal friend of Dr. Turney's. I don't know Dr. Turney personally. I've had maybe 1 or 2 conversations with Dr. Turney. So this is nothing personal, but I think as a resident and as a Northwest School Board, not school board, as a Northwest School local district person, I think I have a right to talk about her and give my opinion of her. I've worked in corporate America for 39 years. I worked at Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I was a project manager. I was a HR manager. I was a claims manager and my last business analyst, senior business analyst. When you look at a candidate for employment, you don't look at just certain aspects. You look at the person as a rounded person. Again, I don't know her personally, but I've looked at her portfolio, I've looked at her resume. We as a community need people like her. If we let her slip through the ropes and let her slip out of our school system, you're going to regret it. She carries a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, a doctor's degree, a superintendent degree, and we should be, as a community, uplifting her to come up through the ranks of our school. Thank you.
Is this Carrie? And I think it's Dr. Turney, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Just last night, I was at a trustee meeting, and I was disturbed to see they hired 7 new employees. Not one of them was a minority. So I'm going to play the race card. I think we have to respect our students, our student body, our parents, and consider the fact that we have an extraordinary woman with extraordinary accomplishments who is within our grasp. And the versatility of her her record and her credentialing, I think we're fools if we let this woman get away from us. And not just because she's black, but because of the diversity of her resume. I mean, she's got so many places she can be filled in. This is the last person I would want to leave our school district. So for these reasons, I would like you guys to support her, keep her on, find a way to use her because she's got way too much to offer in too many fields. She's a catch.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, do you have another one? Sorry. I just messed this up. Thank you. Okay. Diversity. Chris Miller. Thank you.
Almost about 2 years ago, I stood at this same podium. Not pleased as far as the district taking a considerable role looking at moving the needle when it comes to diversity and inclusion. At that standpoint, many of the people, leadership in the district, approached me for their help. And for the last 2 years, my family, we've sacrificed energy and time to bring about a difference when it comes to diversity and inclusion in this district. And that leadership was led by Dr. Crystal Turney. Her passion, her knowledge was very, very, it encouraged me. Because I'm gonna be real with you, I didn't think there would be any change to take place. She was a champion and she was a leader in motivating many of us, our parents, taxpayers in the district, that change will come, but we need your efforts. So to say that her particular role or the value that she brings is insignificant, that is false. And I echo the sentiments of the ladies that came before me. This district needs her in this district for that leadership. And frankly, she's the one that's been moving the needle for the last 2 years. If that isn't done within this district, within the leadership here, maybe it needs to be use resources outside of this district in order to bring about that change, because it's needed and it's appropriate. And so I carry the same sentiments that I hope that you would decide to keep her in her role and continue to do the work that we've been doing for the past 2 years to bring about change. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move into certificate and licensed personnel.
First item is certificated licensed personnel, certified retirements and resignations. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any questions or comments? Chris? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel item, classified retirements and resignations. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any questions regarding classified retirements or resignations? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is certificated licensed personnel items. Before I ask for the recommendation, I'd like to bring to your attention several items that are listed here. First of all, pending board approval, there will be a reduction of salary and position of the executive director of curriculum. It will be changed to a director of curriculum and reduced in salary. We will remove all 3 instructional specialists out of curriculum. All are on Teacher Plus contracts. The savings for those 3 is $182,000. The diversity plan will continue to be a pillar of what we've embedded, and because of the RIF that will be listed as we go through certified assistant director of recruitment, diversity, employee relations, we will continue to make sure that we take a strong lead in this, and it is already embedded as a pillar in our 5-year strategic plan. This is a continuation of continual reductions that we've made out of A over the last 3.5 years. We did not replace an assistant director. We did not replace a technology supervisor. We did not replace the principal at Northwest Passage. We did not replace the secretary in EMIS. Our last board meeting, we terminated an assistant supervisor in transportation. We will not replace the position. Our last meeting, we had a reduction in force of an employee at White Oak Middle School that was approved. We will continue to make hires. We will continue to make hires that fit our diversity plan. We have started that with hires we have made since January with Thomas Gray as the supervisor in transportation. Lindsay Creasy is our new PR person. Ashley Johnson as our new EMIS secretary, and promoted Kiva Bright extended days, 35 days to meet the state requirements that we need. So these recommendations are not based on people, but they are based on the needs of the district, and we will continue to do that as our spending deficit has gone beyond $5.1 million a year, as you will see May 23rd, and crept up next to $7 million a year. With that being said, the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? I have a question. Of these ones that we're getting ready to vote on, you mentioned all 3 of the instructional specialists will be removed from curriculum. Could you tell me what the process is as far as once an employee is notified and what happens from there?
Once an employee is notified, they are reduced in force. They have the option to apply for other jobs in the district, or they have an opportunity to go back to a teacher contract based on seniority and based on our teacher contract, not administrators making a decision. So it's in our contract language. One has agreed to go back to the classroom at Colerain High School. One has applied for another position in the district and received it. And the other was removed last year, and then another one was reduced in salary days this year. So the total combination savings was $182,000. So it was a 35-day reduction in her pay.
So even the one that applied for another position in the district is still taking a cut in pay?
Correct, because it was a teacher plus contract.
Anybody else? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is a certificated licensed personnel item. As mentioned before, this is a reduction in force. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any questions?
Comments.
Sure.
So for this item, this is the section that is requesting the RIF of Dr. Turney. I'll just pull it up here for a second. And being a board member, a new board member, I've learned a lot with this consideration. One, I was unaware that as a board member, we have the power and authority to cancel someone's contract. I don't know if that's something the community is aware of, but my understanding is that a contract is just that, a contract. And so with no extenuating circumstances behaviorally or performance-wise, the board has the authority to cancel someone's contract. New information to me, but I just want to make sure the community and everyone else is aware of that. But my point here really comes to do with, I've been aware of this, what's going on here for quite some time. Later, a position became available that this Dr. Turney could transition into, and I thought it was a great idea, me personally. I was like, this would be awesome. It would be something that actually would direct affect me personally. I was so in support of it. But when it came down to it, conversations, she had her own personal reasons why she decided to pass on that position that I'm referring to. And shortly thereafter, I started to receive comments from the community. The community stated that this is not what we want. We want her to remain in the administrative office and a part of the administrative cabinet. That is the key point. When it comes down to it, the administrative cabinet is made up of one ethnicity, with the exception of Dr. Turney, that has actual experience. And so the community approach that we do not want to lose our seats in that cabinet. We do not want to lose our seat at that table of diversity and experience. So I sit here before you, not representing myself. I'm here in this position of the Board of Education as a representative of the community. And the community is speaking to me, and they're asking for this. And everyone else's position here at the board is that of the community as well, and not of our own individual initiatives. We're here to represent them. The community is here. The community is spoken. They are requesting that we vote no on this RIF. In the same way, they are asking for our vote today for a no on this RIF from the community. The community at this time cannot vote today, but they do have an opportunity to vote later. So the same support that they're asking for us today for a no on this RIF, they can show their support at a later date. But please understand that if we don't support them, it's very unlikely that they will support us. So with that, I ask my fellow board members to please vote no on this 6.2.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? I have a clarification. Did we not vote on a RIF? Was that last
I spoke last week.
week?
Last week we
And what was the vote on that?
It was a 5-0 vote to RIF position.
So all 5 board members voted, and that person, and this meeting, you're saying you didn't understand it, but you voted to reduce somebody's position last week.
No, this is about the administrative office cabinet. I'm
Yep.
hoping that, I'm asking for the board members not to take away our seat, the diverse seat at the administrative.
I
So this-
totally understand that. What I'm saying is I just want clarification, because what you stated earlier, and it's on camera, is that as a board member, you did not understand what a RIF was and had no idea that we could end a contract at any time, yet you voted last week to do just that to somebody else. And you never made a comment, a question, or anything. And we have people that we just voted on the last, I think it was 6.1. We actually have somebody that's going back to the classroom that I'd be willing to bet that's probably not her preference to go back to the classroom, but understands that in the financial situation we are and continually making cuts, that was her opportunity to still continue to work in the district. We have 4 other ones that you just voted on, didn't question it at all. That's directly going to affect them. Their paychecks are going to be smaller, but they chose to take another position. And none of that was questioned, only this one. So I just wanted clarification that it was okay to do this to somebody else, but not to do it now, and just say you didn't know anything that could happen.
No, you're misunderstanding my point. What I'm saying again here is I'm sitting here representing the community. We had 3 individuals come up to the community comments, and they all spoke on Dr. Turney. These other individuals that you're representing, the community did not speak in the way that they are speaking for Dr. Turney. So in
Okay, that's fine.
And so one other thing is that the other individuals, I'm representing also a very important point, that it's more than a position with Dr. Turney. That we have, I want to be very clear with this point, the administrative office cabinet, those are the individuals that make all the decisions for the whole entire school district. Without Dr. Turney, there is no one of any other ethnicity but one with any experience in that cabinet. So removing her, we return that table, that cabinet, all to one ethnicity to represent this whole entire school district. I am asking for us not to lose our seat of diversity at that position. So it's not just her, it's not just her position. She represents a lot, and that's why you have the individuals here from the community as well as myself asking for us to vote no, so we can still have our seat at the table. That's what we're asking for.
Okay. And just clarification, this is about a position that you feel there is not enough work to keep that position going, correct? It isn't about who's in the position. And And this person was the only one of all these that didn't choose to go after any of the other jobs. And there was actually even a job open that would have been a lateral pay, where everybody else we just voted on all took pay cuts. Is that correct?
It's not about pay. This is about losing the seat at the administrative office cabinet. That's what this position represents. Nobody else was in that position. Dr. Turney is.
Okay, all right. And I wish financially we were in the position to be able to.
At this very moment, you will show the community whether you represent yourself or whether you represent the views of the community.
Well,
And they will show
I've
you
had
later.
plenty of phone calls. I know who I'm representing that we have seven, or, well, we're going to hear a little bit later that our 5 whatever million dollar deficit has just increased thanks to some more funding cuts. And now we're going to be more like a $6.9 million. And this is tough. And this is going to get harder and harder because these cuts, this is not easy to cut these other people and to take other people out of this building and put them in other jobs and to cut their pay. This is only going to be the beginning of what we're going to have to continue to do.
I do want to say this other point. When it comes to cuts, as you mentioned, if Dr. Turney had chosen to take another position, she still would be in the Northwest School District. She still, you mentioned, I didn't mention about that she would have a lateral when it comes to salary. So we're not reducing her salary. She would just move to a different position.
No, she would be replacing, there was a principal that resigned, and the timing was actually perfect. So, you're mixing words. There's a principal, we can't have a building without a principal. So that principal left to go to another district. That position has to be filled. Ironically, it was the same pay as what a position over here would have been. So we're still not filling the position here. Just like all these other ones that Mr. Bowling just went over, all these other ones, the teachers that went back to the classroom, the intervention specialists, all of them, those positions in this building are not going to be replaced. So that is a savings.
When it comes down to it, it's more than money. When it comes to Dr. Turney's position, it's way more than money. It's about representation. And with a vote to yes, you're going to remove the representation from the AO cabinet for a diverse member.
I can say personally, it saddened me that we weren't able to move to another position and be able to keep her here. That's just me personally. But with that, do we have a motion in a second?
Sorry to move in a second.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments?
Dr. Turney has an opportunity to apply for anything else in the district that would open up, correct? And then we could use her diversity expertise. Say she moved into another position, we could still utilize her as a diversity individual on that committee and as an opportunity for that.
But she has no opportunity to be on the AO cabinet if she's in any other position but this one. The AO cabinet will be one ethnicity that has any experience without her. So going to a teacher position, going to a principal position, that all takes her away from the AO cabinet.
Anybody else? Okay, Chris? Motion passed 4-1.
I'm going to show you.
Okay, Todd?
Next item is a classified personnel item. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved in second. Are there any questions or comments regarding classified personnel items? Motion passed 5-0. Okay, at this time, if anybody has any comments about anything that was discussed here tonight, you can just raise your hand from Joe. Yes.
I have several questions for the board, and this is all relevant, so I don't want to hear about how irrelevant it is, because you just made a decision based on claiming, anyway, on record to be from a reduction in force due to financial issues. So my question to you is, did you have 3 people that were paid simultaneously to head up transportation at one time, and was there any opportunities to cut there?
Asking the board or?
I'm asking anybody who wants to answer up there.
Transportation has two people that were put in place, Bob Engel and Thomas Gray in January because of issues with transportation. Once they were put in position, it was because we had a retirement letter from Dan Bolden. So we had an opening and we posted it. We also have a non-renewal. We have a non-renewal that is not being replaced. There are 3 transportation positions like there's always been in transportation.
Okay, so let me rephrase this question. Do we have Mr. Bolden, the new guy, forget his name, and a consultant, all 3 paid for the same position for more than 3 months?
We'd have to check with Amy. Once an employee retires, they can use vacation to end out, and by law, we have to pay their vacation or they use them. It would be the same thing with any RIF. It would be the same thing with any retirement of any person in the district.
You had someone that basically underperformed, as we heard several times in several board meetings, because there was a meeting where a lot of transportation bus drivers were here, and it was very obvious to anybody in that meeting that clearly there was dysfunction in that department for a considerable amount of time, and no action was taken to deal with it, and this was over a 2-year span, and this was not only around redistricting, this was prior to that, so there were certainly performance issues, and yet you chose to bring on a consultant, you hired someone new, and you basically let this guy retire instead of terminating them. Is that not what happened? And you had three positions that were paid, and nothing was done. There was no discussion of any kind of fiscal management on that. But I'll move on. And then I also want to talk about the communications person that was just hired. That, if I remember correctly, Pauletta Crowley was over communications or had that somehow embedded in her position, and then you hired Dustin Garing to take that on, and now you've hired yet another communications person. I mean, where was the savings in this? Where did the money come from out of that? And around the same time, did you not reduce the salaries of our janitors and secretaries? I'll give you that. You know, these kind of inconsistencies, and did you all not sit up here, and I remember, because the meeting after it happened, Stephanie Wright asked you the question, and she was here. You itemized the people that you supposedly were so fiscally responsible for terminating their positions, but not one time did you mention all the positions that you added after that. So you misrepresented the district, and you misrepresented fiscal policy. I'm sorry, what?
Total savings is $292,000 with additions and reductions.
And what
Save the
time was
district
that? And what time?
$292,000.
Because I'm just, you know, because I can tell you about a $70,000 mistake, or whatever you want to call it, mismanagement. If I recall, and there's people in this room who were at that meeting, unfortunately it wasn't recorded, but I do recall it when there was some discussion around bringing back a part-time person. So I have no issue with Jenny Bliss. I actually happen to like her. But you brought her back basically because no one trained her replacement to write grants. Yet you knew that she was retiring for a whole year, and nobody trained the replacement, so you paid her $70,000 to work part-time. That is what you said, Todd, in that meeting. Tracy Miller and I were both there. I think there was, obviously, the board was present. I mean, was that not an opportunity and a failure on the
No, that was one of the best decisions we ever made. We reduced the salary from 120 to 70. She just wrote a grant that was received by all 3 middle schools for $453.
Wait a minute.
If you want me to talk and answer questions, you need to give me time.
Honest, Todd.
So I'm trying to be honest. If you listen, please. So what she does is federal and Title I programs, which is very difficult to do and very important because if you mess up on those, you cannot get the funding. She has been in place for 6 months. We will work on a replacement for her, but right now her value to our district is pretty much unmatched with the amount of money she's bringing into the district. So it was a great savings and why the board was asked to vote on it.
Okay, my comment on that is that's a bunch of mess, and I think anybody with any level of business intelligence, fiscal responsibility can understand that and see right through that, because had you retained your replacement, which I believe was Stephanie Kessling, if I'm not mistaken, you would have had a zero payout. You would have saved the district $70,000. So I don't understand where your math is coming from. I mean,
So did you also
so it
understand we have
doesn't
1,200 employees, we have 10,000 students, and we are the only district with 2 people in curriculum. Everybody else has 14 to 16.
And by the way, what kind of experience does she bring as far as with respect to curriculum? In this
pull up
recent
test scores when
declaration.
she was a principal, look at her curriculum background, look what she's implemented and done, far outweighing any of the scores we're getting now. And it is very difficult to get scores. If you listen to what I said for the last 3.5 years, all we have continually done is reduce, reduce, reduce. Class sizes have gotten larger. We continue to reduce. We show you the savings.
That's not true, okay, number one. On a lot of levels, I'm so frustrated right now because I think that we all know, if people are very honest in this room, that I don't believe that there was never, the will was never there to do anything about diversity in this district. If you recall, 3 years ago, I sent the board at that time an email, including 2 board members that are up there now, offering to help behind the scenes. And basically, the bottom line is, and I asked to help, I was very diplomatic about it. I told you that I've served on many boards, and I understand how boards get beat up and such. I have taken 3 weeks of my own personal vacation time just to show you my level of dedication before I have posted anything on social media, anything. And the response that I was given from Pam was, well, about 20 years ago, I talked to someone black and tried to get them to run for the board. Now, if you think that that is the right way to deal with diversity.
That is not what I said, but you're.
Oh, I have the email. I have the email. And
Okay,
you
we
didn't
need
even
to
bother
get
to
back
respond.
to, this is about, if you have a question specifically about
I
the
just
meeting,
answered,
not
and I
attacked.
asked questions, and I
Is
had
there
every right
anybody
to
else
ask
that has
them.
questions?
So you're not going to patronize me either.
Carrie?
I have a question and I'd like to make a comment, but I want to understand. Being on the cabinet, you know, I think that is really critically important. And so I was wondering if being on that cabinet, does that mean you're in on the meetings where all the decisions are made and so you have a voice to represent whatever it is your personal philosophy is? Is that what she meant by cabinet? Is that what
AO Cabinet has bi-monthly meetings where they come together and discuss what's going on in each department. If it's an HR issue, it's Daryl, myself, and Amy. If it's a business issue, it's Chris McKee and Amy and Chris and I. So it just depends on what the situation is, but no.
Okay, so my suggestion would be, and I don't know if the doctor would even consider it, but I would really, really love to see this board, because I know you won't turn around and change your mind, no matter how many of us are here. I'm disappointed in the vote, but I would really love to see you guys craft a position that includes her position in that, what did we just call it? Within the cabinet. And I think I don't know this woman, all I know is her resume and how awesome it is. And so I would like to ask for a commitment from you all within the next couple of weeks to try to craft a position for her that will retain her place on the board, as just like we have teachers who are doing all these other activities. Can we possibly craft a position for this talent so we can keep her? We need to keep her. And give her this position and voice on the board. I think it's going to be very, very important. It's going to be very important to me in advocating for our future that we have this voice on the board. So I would like a commitment from each of you to make an effort, and Todd, I mean, I sincerely am asking this, that you guys craft a position that can encompass this diversity component, because we need it, and to keep her position in the cabinet, because we need her voice as much as we need her experience and education. So I would ask, can you all commit to do that within the next 2 weeks?
Karen, I'll make a comment. That was a request that was made by myself to Mr. Gator before this meeting occurred, and there was zero response from the two of them, so it actually can be directed to them and ask for their response. They're the ones who actually made that decision.
You guys did?
What was your request? I don't
Request-
recall it.
I don't want to get into the bickering.
No, I don't recall the request unless you do.
Well, she didn't tell me what her request is. I don't know her. All I'm saying is we've got talent and we've got diversity.
When I spoke with you, having a position for Dr. Turney where it retains the administrative office cabinet, you mentioned that you were to speak with Todd about that. I didn't follow up from that point, but there was no communication.
We are reducing.
Let me second. Do you recall that conversation where I requested for Dr. Turney to maintain a position on administrative office cabinet?
Yes, and my comment to you was that I had given you all the information I could about what the RIF was, and that those conversations would have to be between you and Todd.
That's not what you said. You actually said that you would speak with Todd on that option.
That any conversation needed to be between you and Todd, because I could explain the position in the RIF.
I made the request. You can make it.
Well, I'm making a request. You know, you've got a good audience here. There's been a lot of feedback. And I think I'm supposed to, and I think you guys know where I stand on things. I want us to march into the fall with a united front. And I would ask you all to craft a position that retains her seat in that cabinet and her charge of diversity, and make that inclusive. I don't care if you give her 10 grand extra on top. If she wants to be the principal of that school, give her an extra 10 grand, and my God, we got a deal. You know, and just let her do that work on the diversity that we trust her to do. And keep the seat on the cabinet, and then everybody's happy. I want everybody to.
Carrie, there was an equal position that could have been applied for that was the same pay, no change in pay. Obviously, that position would have been made part of the diversity cabinet. It was chosen not to apply for, and that's her choice and her family's choice. But we cannot.
That's not true. Please know that's not true. Please note that that's not true.
Carrie, I'm not, if you can listen, I'm not promising you anything. I am sitting here responsible for making $6.9 million in cut after May 23rd. I let 32 teachers go away at Northwest High School when I was principal. African American, white, special abilities, anything that had to be cut. There is nothing fun about this. And this is not about an individual. There are other individuals who were cut. That was not fun, Carrie. There's nothing fun about it. But no, I will not promise you anything. Positions are open. She may apply. We are making a recommendation. They voted to support it.
Can you guys motion to direct Todd
Carrie,
structure?
we're already, I mean, you of all people, you've been to the levy committee, I mean, you know.
I know what's going on.
I know what's
understand
going
what
on.
you're doing.
And you know, what do we get bashed? We got bashed the other night when you were there. It's always about we're too top heavy here, we're too top heavy here. To create another position, she had the opportunity to apply, and there were board members that reached out.
Can you let her talk first?
And no, I don't
I
think.
understand your position.
And you know what, and I was disappointed that she didn't apply, but to be honest, I was shocked. Because I kind of thought it was gonna be a win-win for everyone. And Todd meets with the principals, he has principals meetings, I don't know how often you have it over here. So the principals have strong input on what's going on. But the fact is, it amazes me that we just did all this to all these other people and nobody's saying a thing. And one board member is acting like she doesn't.
Exactly. You need to start, why don't you start listening to the community for once?
No, because as a team.
How much we care about what she's doing.
And I don't.
And about diversity. You guys don't care.
That's not true.
It is true. You've had 20 years to fix the problem. You did absolutely
People in those
nothing.
positions that would have been here to speak out for them. We all came out in support of her. You're talking about other people that we did not come here for. They're not a part of this conversation. We came here to support Dr. Turney, her role in diversity. Who is going to take the lead in this district when it comes to diversity? Who's going to be in place of that? I don't see nobody up here is willing to do that, have the courage to do it. She did, and you took her position. Don't talk about other people. We're talking about her and what she was doing.
And
You
we're
just
talking
doing a
about
bait
your
switch.
decision.
No, she had the opportunity to apply for another job and could have still done it.
It was not a position on the AL cabinet as it was stated. It was devaluing her power.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what it's about. It's not about position, it's about power.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am. And
Exactly.
let's give her the power back.
They wanted to take it away, and they did it.
Is there anybody else?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
so my name is Teresa Williams. So I'm going through my second child in the district. My first child graduated from this district at Northwest High School in 2004. And when you think about diversity, you don't have it. Look at your levy. You have 1.9 million that y'all pay for kids going outside of this district. Do you want to know why? It's not because of your rating. People want their kids to go to school where it is diverse. In 2004, we moved in this district in '02. There's no diversity in your schools. And so when you elect and you hire someone whose role is to address that, you hired her to address it, and then you remove the role. So look at the bigger picture. Would you tell me and anybody else living in this district that diversity isn't important to you? I don't need to argue. My kids go to your schools every day and see no one that looks like them. They don't see any Asians. They don't see any African. We see Caucasian people. You should want a well-diverse school district. You should want that. And so when your levy comes up, yeah, my kid is in that school, but why would I pass it? Why would I even vote for it? I'm going to be one amongst that 1.9 mil that you're going to pay to bus my kid out of your district. Is that what you want? You should look at the bigger picture. You're spending money. You don't even have buses for our high schoolers. I pay and we network to get our kids to your school. But you pay 1.9 mil to pay your kids to go to school out this district. You don't have a problem with that? You should. You shouldn't. And so you think this is a bigger picture. Wait till your increase of your transportation costs go up because you're going to pay for other kids to go out your district. So you can look at it as just a role, but look at the bigger picture. And I asked you to do that.
Obviously I'm white. I agree with what most of the people are saying in the room. And again, I really don't know her. But what I'm hearing and what I'm agreeing with, it's not the fact we understand you have to do RIFs. We're all aware of that. We know that you had to do it for the past, because of the mill, because of all that you're saying, funding's taken away. What we're trying to say, I agree with what you're saying, Pam. If she would have taken a lateral move from wherever she was over to this principal school, it wouldn't affect her pay, it wouldn't affect her tenure. What we're saying as a community, the loss that you're taking from the community and from the school is, she's black, she has diversity, she has an education about that. That role, I don't care if you call her principal / AOL, I don't care if you call her principal / diversity queen, however you wanted to word her title, give her the salary of the principal of the school as a lateral move, but allow her, with her knowledge, with her being black, with her being diversity, allow her to be part of the table. Does she have to have the title for that? Does she have to have the title of being a cabinet member of the AOL or whatever you're calling it? If it's not the title, but she has the responsibility to come to the table and say, you're the table, but I'm part. If there's 5 of you on the table, okay, now there's 5 of you who get the title, but I'm the 6th person who comes to the table, and I have the power to address the table as a diversity person. It's not about her losing whatever she lost. It's about you losing her ability and her diversity, that she can be a principal and she can be a player and not be called a board member of this AOL, but she has the knowledge and the diversity and the power to come to the table and say what this woman said and what this gentleman said. We're not getting diversity in our schools as far as teachers. And I don't know. I mean, my kids go to Struble, and I'm sorry, I see African-American kids going in there. But I don't know principal-wise and teacher-wise what the ratio is and what the ratio is. But I think that's what they're trying to say. She is the person that can address it because she's black. I can't address it. I don't know what it's like to be black. I don't know what it's like to go to a school and say, I went to a very highly racial mixed school, but there were black teachers, there were black gym teachers, so I don't understand when you say what they're all trying to say is, we get the RIF, we understand the RIF, we get you had to make the cut. Okay, she's cut. That title, that job is cut. Now let's put her over into the principal role, but allow her to be part of that table of diversity or whatever that table's called. That's what I think the community is trying to express. And give her an extra pen of 20 grand.
My turn. I'm Kim Gates. I just drove, I'm a involved member of this community. I just drove from the middle school, I'm now the new PRMS PTA president. To come here. I come here to give my support to Dr. Turney. Like everyone else, I understand that there has to be risks made. However, I go to a church where it says, wherever your heart is where your money goes. So if you're showing to me that your money, you have no heart for diversity. My kids are about to be in 9th and 7th grade. They have never, ever had a black teacher or a teacher of color, and that is sad. I graduated from high school in 95. I had very little teachers of color. And Mrs. Turney even admitted that kids who, no matter what color they are, if they have teachers of color, they do better. Research shows that. Your board right now only has 2 people of color. We need more diversity, and I don't understand how, if we need more diversity in our school district, why we would riff the person that's responsible for that. I mean, even if I was a teacher, why would I want to come to the school district if the person I'm talking to doesn't even look like me or is of color? And that's all I want to say. I support the school district. I am in the school district for the next 6 years, and I'm going to do what I can. I have been on the diversity committee. I was on the committee to help with the new principal at the PRMS. I'm willing to do whatever, but I would also like to see you guys willing to help us be involved.
Of course, I work in the district, and I know there's nothing any of us can see in this room that's going to change your mind. I want to know, what are the plans to move forward? Have you thought of a plan? When you decided to rip this position, did you put in place things to move this district further, to be more culturally diverse?
I am the one who appointed Dr. Turney to take over the diversity committee, so that we will appoint another staff member to take over the diversity committee, and we will rally around the parents who lead the diversity committee to co-lead that committee and continue to make changes that are appropriate and necessary. It will not be forgotten. There will be an email going out tomorrow to the diversity team talking about the change. And there's also some other things that I have in email and other comments from people that they want it to be more inclusive than just black and white issues, SWD, gay, lesbian, so on and so forth. A lot of our teachers and our parents who were there at the initial meetings for that walked away and quit. Doesn't take away the importance of them, and it definitely doesn't take away the importance of the black-white issues that are going on in this district. So we will continue to make sure this committee, it is a part of our pillar of our 5-year strategic plan. It is a pillar by itself, and it will continue to gain momentum and strength.
So you don't have a person in place that's going to lead in those efforts, is that correct?
The 2 people who are going to lead it from this position are right here, but until the board made a recommendation.
Right there. That's the great diversity.
And Mr. Miller, I just told you we were going to work with our current staff we have to put somebody in
You guys are very clear
place.
about your position. I wish y'all the best. This is nonsense to continue to keep talking, because you made your point. Thank you very much.
I would like to pass my comment on to Monica, like she's gonna speak for me.
I just want to make a couple points real quick. I know there's a lot of emotion in this room. There's also a lot of frustration. I can tell you that I've been working behind the scenes. I've gone to meeting after meeting after meeting on a lot of these issues. One I want to bring up, we keep talking. Sure. I just want to make a couple quick points. I know there's a lot of emotion happening in this room right now, understandably so. Y'all got my blood pressure up, stroked out. Anyway, I want to thank Dr. Turney for everything that she's done. I want to point out a few things. One, she has children in this district. She is vested in our community. She has young children in this district, 2 twin girls. She has a teenage son. Is that correct? She has longevity in this district, meaning she's got a lot of working years left. Her salary is one of the lower salaries in the administrative cabinet. Is that not, I mean, if anybody wants to battle that, I guess they can, but let me talk about what she brings to the table. She brings some direct experience working with Job and Family Services, working with kids on continuous improvement, also known as academic emergency, has brought test scores up with disadvantaged children. She has had district or experience in Fairfield. She's had experience in Forest Park. All those districts with very, very, very similar socioeconomic issues, ethnic issues, racial issues, whatever other ism issue you want to throw in there. All things that are very, very consistent with diversity. All things that have been problematic in this district dating back from 25 to 30 years. And you've made a horrible decision to take someone, the only person that I'm aware of in this district that has had external talent and experience. She has a superintendent's license. She has a master's degree. She has a PhD. I'm not aware of anybody in this administrative cabinet that has those credentials and has had and understands the needs of this community more. I've heard from white teachers. I've heard from white community members. I've heard from black, white, and every ethnicity that you can imagine. They call me. They email me. People are afraid to speak up in this in this school district. They're afraid. They're afraid of retaliation. I've seen retaliatory, threatening emails. Outrageous. Outrageous. We now have a segregated school. You can get into semantics and call it whatever you want, but let me just throw that out there. You have Coleraine Elementary. You've taken, I've seen the emails. I did a public records request where there have been people that have sent emails saying that they don't want to go to Taylor Elementary School, so people up here made it okay for them to take their kids from Yacht Club and put them at Taylor. And it's all because, oh, it's not a black and white thing. Well, then what is it? What is it? Why is this stuff allowed to happen? I came to you all before redistricting happened, and Todd, you are very well aware of this story. You, Mr. Gator, saw other people up there on that board right now. I was very, very concerned about the redistricting that was happening in this district where we're taking specific socioeconomic disadvantaged kids out of certain schools and putting them into other ones. Schools were overcrowded. Concerns have been brought up to this administration, to this board, and absolutely nothing was done about it except to say we're giving you more. I can tell you that my child, she's here tonight. She loves kids that do not look like her. I was raised, my parents are higher socioeconomic, on the higher end of the socioeconomic food chain. Yeah, my father was a physician and my mother's a retired nurse, and guess what? I went to Mount Healthy. I went to school with people that did not look like me, that looked like me, that were rich, that were poor, and everything in between. And I think that has made me a better person because of it. How dare you dismiss some of us who have been working with you behind the scenes now for 3 years. 3 years. My personal time. I've worked with you. I trusted you. I had to resort to social media to even get some of you to show up to anything. Outrageous. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I don't know how you sleep at night. Our kids, our community, our village deserves better. That's it.
I want to say something. So I've had the privilege of seeing you, working with Dr. Tony for a long time. My daughter went to Coleraine High School and Dr. Turney was the principal there. And unfortunately, Dr. Turney was yanked from Coleraine within just my daughter had been there for a year. And nothing against you, Jack, but I feel like she was never even given a chance to even make changes at Coleraine High School. I personally feel like her role, herself, she's been used as a pawn, as a position that y'all can just freely move whenever y'all feel like. So you took her from Coleraine for 2 years. I don't know which person can make any type of impact or change for just being somewhere for 2 years. And then she's been here for 3 years, and again, she's being asked to move, take it to a different position. And so I don't, again, I'm with everyone else. I don't feel like this district really that values diversity. I know it's a lot of lip service. I know everything that's said. I also know too, we've been saying, we've been going through this for 20 years. You should not be going through no diversity changes for 20 years, trying to address this problem. That doesn't work. That does not work. It is not hard. You keep yanking people. I mean, I'm at this point now, I'm not really invested in staying in this district. I'm like, because I feel like our voices aren't heard. I mean, just like all of us. I mean, the amount of time that I'm putting in, I'm taking a vacation day to help with curriculum. I'm up there working at nighttime to try to get the issues, help get resolved issues on top of my my job at Procter and Gamble, I don't have time to do this, and to see that our efforts have gone in vain is very disappointing.
Tracy, please make your voice heard in November.
Oh, I will, thank you.
Hi, I was called from Viking country. I bring you greetings from Viking country, which is of course Princeton. I worked for Northwest for 36 years. I know what they're talking about. I've been there, I've walked that, I fought that fight. And it got to the point that I realized in some of the parts, I was losing the fight and was giving up. I know what it's like being there, working, trying to help all kinds of students. And for 36 years, I gave my blood, sweat, and tears to Northwest. Because of Dr. Turney, Crystalline, I call her, is the reason why I'm now in Viking country. Because she ran into me one day, talked to me, asked me if I wanted to come back. Because after I retired from Northwest, I decided I was going to sit down and do absolutely nothing. She asked me to come back and work at Corrine High School because she said the students needed me. They needed to see me. The students that I had at the middle school, the students that I saw, I've had, because I've been in the district for so long, I've had parents to send their kids through. And if you want to research, look it up under Walden. Last name was Walden before it became Frierson. And for you, other names, right? Dr. Turney, when I received the email, I definitely had to take time from everything that I was doing to come over to tell you thank you, because you believed in me. You brought me out of retirement to go to Corrine High School to work with those students, even though I had seen some of them through the middle school. I didn't see the ones coming through White Oak, but I worked with them to make sure that their credentials were correct so that they could get into college. Because one of my biggest fears when I was there was I'm going to find a student who was due to graduate and, of course, didn't have the credits. And I worked very hard, and because of you, I wanted to take time to thank you. And if I can pull you my way, you know I will, because we definitely will use you.
So can you craft a position that includes the diversity component and keeps your seat on the cabinet?
Carrie, we cannot craft the position. We are making reductions. And we're going to talk to more people about more reductions as we move forward. And if, like Mrs. Bradley tells you to vote no, you will see reductions that you can't believe with $6.9 million. It will take classroom sizes and skyrocket them. And I hope we are on the same page as board members. That's disappointing to hear as we sit here. But I can promise the diversity committee we will be in contact. We will run it exactly like the parents want it run. And we will be held accountable, and we will pick someone from the district to lead it from the certified and classified side.
Please let Mrs. Bradley clarify herself. I didn't say for anyone to vote no. I said make your voice be heard come November. Clarification. Then the word no never came out of my mouth. I said the same way that the board made their voice known here today, community, please make your voice known in November. Is that clear?
I hope your comments don't affect how we do in our levy in November.
I don't think she's talking about the levy.
There are other things.
I'm glad, Mrs. Davis, I'm glad you clarified that.
Okay, we're going to move on to other board items. Joe?
No, I have nothing.
Diane? My comments are, I share the pain and frustration. Dr. Turney, I tried. I'm so sorry that it came out the way that it did. I'm very, I will say very disappointed with the way it came out today. I share the frustration myself with Kim that I have children where we will go 9 years in this district and see only one ethnicity of teachers. And unfortunately, I'm in a school district where that supports that is more of the same. And it's very disappointing that it's a lot of talk, but you've heard more times than anything that actions speak louder than words. You see the actions of the past, of the current today, and we'll see what happens in the future. And I will end with my comment that I already said, and I have planned to use in this point, that, as your voices, you were not able to vote today, but you will be able to vote in November. So I really hope that you go and let your voices heard then. I support you. Thank you. Mark?
Last week at the board meeting, we tabled the vote for today. I wanted to do that because I wanted to have more opportunity to do more due diligence. I wanted to see Crystal in at PRM. I've talked to Diane multiple times, and I try to position myself neutrally. I cannot pretend to think that I know what it is like to be African American. I can't do that, but I try. And Diane, we speak about this. I think it would have been incredibly beneficial for the students to see people who look like them in the actual school. So I felt that was positive. After the board meeting last week, I called Todd, I called Daryl, and I said, let's just put her in the PRM position. And then hopefully if the levy passes and we can reshift place things, we can do that. That was an opportunity, I guess. From my perspective, all in all, I think any position you would have been in, we could have kept you in a diversity position, which you're more than qualified and appropriate to do that. And I would have loved to have seen that. But this comes down to it, and it will sound crass, and many of you will probably yell at me, but this is a business. There's an element of business to this. I'm sorry?
No. We're past the community.
So, if there's an opportunity that can present itself, Kristen, I would be in favor of that happening for you. And I'm not squelching on my decision. I made the decision to the best of my ability.
Jim? I just want to thank you, and again, and I'll tell you to your face, I was very disappointed. I really thought you would apply for that middle school position, and I thought the support that you would have had, and again, for you to be a building principal, and to be a leader in that building, and it never crossed my mind that you wouldn't still be a part of the diversity committee. So, but Bonita, we cannot make her take a position that she doesn't want to take. And we had to make the cut on the position. No matter, you're never going to believe us, it is not about the person, it is about the position, and this is only going to get harder and harder. So with that, I appreciate everybody's comments. I'm going to go ahead and take a motion to adjourn, please.
I got kicked out of the meeting, so I
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I moved in second.
I'm not plugged in anymore. I can get it.
Hey, Chris. She signed out.
I didn't,
You kicked her out. She can't get back in.